That wasn't AI. This isn't going to be AI either. AFC South, it's not a real division, but we still are going to have to go through it. So, yeah, let's go. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fun NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope y'all are ready for AFC South division. We'll be going through the AFC South today. I'll go through all y'all their schedules again. We're on their depth chart, which will be that's coming up soon too. Roster grades. But yes, we'll be going through every single team in the AFC South today. And I'll give you guys my opinions on each of their schedules, and then we'll rank them at the end, as we've done for the AFC East and the AFC North. Prior to this one, you'll be seeing the West coming up. But I'm just telling you that. But anyways, again, first team we'll talk about is the Colts, then the Jags, and you'll see the rest of that after that. Again, this is an AFC South that, I'm going to be honest, guys, I can't tell you the last time that the AFC South has had the hardest of schedules, but that might not be the case this year. Just a heads up. But anyways, this Colts team we'll start out with. Again, last year they finished 8-9. They lost, what was it, like their last 7 games. Again, they were 7-1, the number 1 team in the entire NFL in terms of record through week 8. Everyone was crowning them as like, what the hell is this team? Danny Dimes like breaks his leg in, what was it, week freaking 12 against the Chiefs, and then they obviously fall off a cliff. Before that, they were kind of falling off anyway, though. Again, it really just started with that Steelers game in which Daniel Jones had like 6 turnovers or something. It was ridiculous. But again, hopefully that doesn't happen this year. Again, but also not as hopeful for them is the fact that this schedule, at least start of the season, is not nearly as easy as it was last season. Specifically, they're going to open their season at home versus the Ravens, a Ravens team that they haven't had much success at against here at home. I can't even. I think the last time they actually played the Baltimore at home was back in 2020, and again, that Ravens team was pretty damn good. Again, it wasn't a 2019 team, but that Colts team won 11 games with Philip Rivers. Last year, he started until he came back last year. Let's go. But yeah, this doesn't seem a game that's going to be very favorable for them. But again, who really knows? Again, I talked about this with the AFC North video last week. Again, the Dolphins game was looked at, again, at least with this Colts team, as one that they were going to win, and they did. So I'm not going to really go too crazy. Maybe they do find a way to win that one. Week 2, well, they did beat the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football back in 2019. I think the overtime game, again, loss is kind of going to tell you what this one's going to be like. It'll definitely be close, but I don't see the Colts winning this one either. Again, this seems just it's just not a really very good first 2 games. Then they host the Texans in Week 3, a game that last year I don't really remember them playing too well against the Texans. Yeah, they lost both those games, 20-16, 38-30. I still think that they have a good shot at least beating them once this year. But again, these first 3 games are, again, it's not very fun. Week 4, they're versus Commanders in London. That's a game I honestly think they should actually probably be favored in. Last year when they played internationally, again, they nearly escaped the Falcons, but I still think that's a game that they actually are, again, pretty well matched in. Anyways, though, I'd be shocked if the Colts are better than 2-2 to start the season. We'll just say that. And even then, Week 5, they had Pittsburgh. That's not a good environment for them. Again, last year, again, when they went in there, they lost. I don't really see something. Again, maybe they play better this year, and they, again, hopefully win that one. But still, again, I think 2-3 is a very, I'd probably say, positive outcome for the first 5 weeks. After that, it gets a little, I'd probably say it definitely gets a lot easier after that. Still not exactly easy. They had Tennessee at home in Week 6. Again, a game that I can't tell you the last time the Colts have lost a game versus Titans at home in a while. I mean, there was definitely some games a couple years ago. But last year, they swept them, took, again, quick work of them through the first, where they blew them out both times. I see something similar going on in this one. Maybe they're not both blowouts, but they should be able to take care of business there. Those are games they got to win. Week 7 in Minnesota, that's not going to be an easy game to win by any means. Still a game, though, I think, again, like I said, if all things go right, they're able to be favored. Again, Daniel Jones versus former team. In Duval, that's going to be a loss. They haven't won there since 2014. I mean, maybe something changes, but I don't see that happening in this one. That, again, ended their season with Daniel Jones with torn Achilles last year. It has been a death march for them in there for, again, like I said, 12 years now. And obviously, again, they made some good light of it. Again, Colts PR team and social media team, bro. Great job with that thing in The Simpsons there. But anyways, after that, if I'm going to be honest, guys, for the first 8 games, I'm going to say best case they're 4-4. This is a really rough stretch. Probably, I'm going to be honest, more like 3-5 if we're going to be honest there. Their next 4 games are actually, I definitely say, lighten up a little bit. Still not easy, though. Cowboys is not a game that I look at as, again, one that's going to be, like, again, like any sort of, like, easy game by any means. Still, though, their defense is able to play well enough. Offensively, they don't freaking stink up the joint. Should be a pretty fun one to watch. Still, though, probably the Cowboys will be favored in that one. Dolphins, that's a game they're going to need to win. Again, pretty similar to last year. They headed Houston for that Thursday night game. Again, like I said, this year I'm convinced that they're going to split with Houston. That's probably not the game they're they're going to win, though. And they have the Giants at home in Week 12, a game that will probably, if I'm going to be honest, be very critical for them to have a chance to make the playoffs. But honestly, guys, first 12 weeks of the season before the late Week 13 bye, I'd be shocked if they're better than 6-6, and honestly, I'd say around 5-7. This is a really brutal first 12 games. There's really only like 2 or 3 games I honestly have in this stretch where I'm like, yeah, they're going to freaking win that. I think if you say split the 500, there are other games, and then the games that they're probably expected to lose, I'd probably say 5-7 is a realistic mark for them, which isn't obviously good by good at all, but this is a brutal first 12 games, guys. It's not looking too hot. After the bye, though, they had to Philly Week 14. That's definitely not going to be a game they'll be favored in. At the Titans Week 15, again, I kind of talked about this again, kind of with this game too. That's one they're going to have to win. Bengals isn't going to be easy. The last 2 games, I think are games they should at least have a chance to be favored in. But again, if we take this all in all here, I don't think this is going to be again a team that's going to be able to I'm going to say again really do better than maybe like 10-7. I'd say 9-8 is probably best case though for this Colts team. Worst case 7-10, 8-9 I'd probably say is the most realistic mark. This is a really tough schedule, guys. Again, the last 5 games, the at Philly is brutal. After that, I honestly think they're in a spot where they can capitalize on some of these games. In Cleveland and Nashville, those are games they're going to need to win, obviously. Jacksonville, though, and Cincinnati, those are kind of games I think they actually are pretty well matched, especially against the Bengals. A team that, again, you look at the Colts secondary and what they're going to be looking at there, that's not a bad matchup, honestly, guys. Obviously, the Bengals are good, but you know. And then again, looking at that Colts running game, that should definitely be a fun one against the Bengals defense. We'll have to wait for that though. But when you look at this overall, guys, this is a tough schedule. Like I said, 8-9 for the Colts right now, and that's just getting kind of not where we want to be considering where they were again halfway through last season. Not even close to the same. Alright guys, up next is the Jacksonville Jaguars schedule, and yeah, it's a pretty interesting first 6 games. Oof. This Jags team though, I'm gonna keep harping on this as we get to the roster grades pretty soon. This is a team that just really didn't do what they needed to this offseason. I think they're gonna get might bite them in the ass this season. Again, nothing against Liam Cohen. Again, he kind of shut me up this past season, but that might be in for a rude awakening. Doug Peterson, you know how that went in 2024. Maybe we'll have a repeat here. But we look at this Jags first 6 games before the early Week 7 bye, or early-ish. It's not the worst bye week. It's not easy. They host Cleveland Week 1. I'm not going to lie to y'all. They're in trouble if they don't win that one. Head to Denver Week 2. Definitely not a game they'll be favored in. Last year, though, they handed the Broncos their arse that 34-20 win. So, who really knows? That's definitely going to be an interesting game there. Versus Patriots, that's a game I honestly, again, if we're looking at this team, that's one they're going to need to figure out a way to make a statement in. I honestly think they should be favored in that one, too. But yeah, through the first 3 games, I'm going to say they're going to be 2-1. Again, these are not bad matches for them. In Cincy Week 4... not an easy game, and then they have back-to-back. Again, they have their annual London tour. And speaking of that, guys, with it being an even year, the Jags only would have 8 home games. The fact that 2 of them are neutral site in London basically means they only have 6 home games on their schedule, which is ridiculous. If you're a pissed off Jaguars fan, I can't really blame y'all. But yeah. I'm going to be honest, guys, there's really no reason they can't win at least one of these 2 games. Again, I get they're against pretty decent teams, but like as you guys saw last year, I'm just going to say these are games they're going to need to win. It's just that one of these 2 at least. So again, some people will be looking at it's not great. You're in London. You're used to playing there. Again, how many new guys does the Jags really bring in? They know what it's like to play in London. They've played back-to-back games in London in 2023 and 2024. There's at least some continuity there for this team. I think that will be an advantage in these games. Again, they got to win one of these 2. Again, there's really no excuse to. For that reason, I'm going to say 3-3, maybe even 4-2 through the first 6 games. I think that's a very realistic possibility. Following the bye, it's not great, but I still think it loosens up a little bit. They got the Colts at home in Week 8. Again, that's a game they're going to win. So, again, regardless, even if they're 3-3, they're going to have a winning record going into the Thursday nighter against the Ravens. Again, that I don't think will go well at all for them. Good news for them, though, is the fact that they have 2 of their next 3 games are against the Titans and a game against the Giants, where it's probably a toss-up, but I really think that's one they actually should be favored in, too. So, honestly, through the first 12 games, we're looking at this, again, as a whole, I'd probably say 6-5 is a realistic mark. Maybe 7-4, worst case, I guess 5-6, but I'm leaning more to that 7-4 mark. Again, if things play out well. After that, though, if things play out well. After that, though, yeah, the last 6 games are not fun. There's just no other way to put it. Have to go to Chicago in Week 13. That game will definitely be a high-profile match. I think that definitely could be on the Fox's national game that week. Pittsburgh Week 14, Monday Night Football. At least they're home for that. I honestly think that's a game they should be I wouldn't say double-digit favorites in, but definitely highly favored in. Then they go back to on the road for their Texas tour against Houston and Dallas. Dallas will be on Sunday Night Football. That game will honestly, I think, put them in a spot to win this division. But when you look at these first 4 games here, I'd probably say 2-2 would be a good spot to be in. So we're gonna say like 9-6, probably 8-7 there. They host Commanders in a game that could be on Saturday, could not be, and they have the Colts in Week 18 that will probably determine the playoff spot. spot. Similar to this Colts team, I don't really. There's definitely a cap on this schedule in terms of how many games I think they could win. I'm gonna say max they win 10, low I think 8. I still think, again, like I said, I think 10-7 is honestly a good, decent spot here. Well, these last 6 games, I think they'd be fortunate to split 500 in. If they do start 7-4, that's, again, right there on 10-7, which I think is possible. So, then I can lean to that 7-4 start. We're going to say probably 4-3 here. 4-4, winning these 3 games. Maybe even if they started 4-2 there, which would be a big help. These 2 games, very critical in their schedule. 7-4, just do the math. 10-7 is a realistic possibility. So while this last 6 games is not good at all, if they're just able to roll 500 in there, there's, again, a very decent shot they'll be able to win this division. Alright guys, moving on to the Texans. This is again a team that has a lot of question marks going into this year. Again, I guess similar to last year in some ways. At least in terms of this roster structurally, I think they're in actually a better spot than last year. But CJ Stroud has continually regressed, which is not a good thing, obviously. So how much will that impact their schedule? Well, you look at this overall, similar to the Jags and Colts, as we've seen, this is not an easy year for these teams. With that said, though, I still think that at least their first 3 weeks won't be as how they started out 0-3 last year. That's because that Buffalo game week 1 is a game I think they will win, just because of the fact of how the vibes have been the past few years, and also that they're a team that, again, while they didn't show up last year in week 1, again, with how they played, this is a team, at least offensively, this is a team that, this is just a game I think they're going to be able to win. Reverse Cincy week 2 could definitely get ugly if they're, no, they won't. That's another game I think they should actually be favored in too. I don't see that Bengals offense, again, the Texans defense is just that good where I think even if the Bengals offense does have at least a big time day in there for the standards against that Texans defense, I still think that with the deficiencies they still in fact have on defense, that this Texans team could figure out a way. So, while last year people are saying, yeah, they started 0-3. This year, I think a 2-0 start is very realistic. And even then, at the Colts week 3, probably not a game, again, I think I particularly have them win consistently. Still one that I think, again, is very winnable for them. Week 4 versus Dallas, again, the Texas Met battle there. That's probably a toss-up too. But I'm going to say conservative 2-2 mark, 3-1 though. Would definitely be a little bit more optimistic there. And then these next 3 games before the again perfect week 8 bye. Again, it's kind of pretty silly. Again, I said week 7's early. But anyways, Tennessee week 9, week 5, that's got to be a game they win. Jacksonville, interesting, probably a pretty peculiar matchup for me. I honestly say they're probably on the losing end of this one, just because of the dynamics of the Jags. Then the Giants game will probably be interesting too. You look at this overall, I'm going to probably say 4-3 is a realistic mark through week 8, which again is by far better than what they had last year. Week 9 though, through really these next 2 games, I think are definitely games that could swing either way. The Browns game, I still think is one they got to figure out a way to get at least defensively, again, prevent less than 15 points. And then you also have the Chargers. That game will definitely be one to watch again. But last year, that was one they were able to manage. Again, obviously the 2 CJ Stroud bombs were the main thing in that. But definitely slow that down. But still, through the first 9 games here, I'm going to probably say 5-4, 6-3, pretty realistic. Week 10, or not week 10. Week 11 bye, they had the Colts, or not week 11, Jesus. Short week against the Colts, week 11. Again, that's a game I actually really like them in too, so I'm going to probably say 6-4. Baltimore, week 12, definitely a big litmus test for them. I don't see them, again, winning that too consistently though, so we'll say 6-6, or what are we saying? 6-5 there. Week 13, week 14 will be proved to really show where they're at. They're definitely going to win one of those, though, again, at the Steelers on Sunday night, and then they have the Commanders in Week 14 on the road, a game they haven't played there since 2018, and that's obviously the Alex Smith game, if you remember that. But probably 7-6, I'd probably say where they're at. Last, what do you say, 4 games here. This 3-game stretch is awful. I'm not going to lie to y'all. First Texas Jags in Week 15. That left me a big-time toast out of these next 2 where they have to head to Philly on that short week. For Thursday Night Football on Christmas Eve, game that I'm a little bit wary about, and then they have the last Monday nighter of the season against the Packers, again outside the wild card game, but against the Packers there in Week 17. That game I honestly think will be one that will clinch themselves a playoff spot. But again, I want to be realistic here. I'd probably say 9-7. No, Jesus, and they're gonna have to obviously win in Week 18. I'd probably say 10-7, maybe 11-6 if things really go well. Again, if they win both these games, I'm gonna probably say around 10-7 though for them. Pretty similar to the Jaguars, just the fact I think they have a little bit easier of a road throughout. There's not really, again, outside of this stretch right here, these 2 road games, it's not really a stretch that I'm, again, really too concerned about overall. Last and certainly least, we have the Titans, a team that have won combined 6 games last year. By the way, the Colts had 7 wins by Week 8. But anyways, yes, our Titans schedule is significantly more tempered than what we have with these other 3 teams in this division. First off, they have the Jets in week 1. That's basically a toss-up. I said that similar to that Jets game. I still think the Jets are actually probably in a better shape for this one than the Titans just because of how the defenses play out there. Week 2, they're not going to win. Week 3, they're not going to win. Week 4, I don't even know why, but that's a game that could be close. But if we're going to be honest, guys, if they're going to get through this stretch, even if they already beat, I don't know, they maybe beat the Giants there, they're going to be 1-3 at the probably. I'm not going to say at best that they'll probably be 1-3 through their first 4 games. Then their next 4 games, the Browns one obviously is a winnable one, and you look at that stretch. But overall, I still think they could win either the game against the Texans, maybe the Colts, even though it definitely doesn't look great. And then the Bengals game will definitely be tough too. But I'm gonna be honest, guys, through the first 8 games, I'd be shocked if they're any better than 2-6. I could see 3-5, but I still think 2-6 is probably a likelihood there. Following the bye, it doesn't really get much easier at all. They have the Jags 2 out of the next 3 games. Cowboys in there as well. That Cowboys game will definitely be telling in terms of what their defense is able to do. I see them winning one of these 3 games. Probably the one in Duval, if I had to guess, which will put them at 3 wins so far, 3-8. Yeah, I think that's probably what they'll be at, maybe 4-7. Commanders week 13. Honestly, I actually think that's a game that they should be pretty favorable for them, especially if Jane Daniels is injured by then. Week 14, they're gonna get stopped by Detroit, and they have the Colts in week 15, which is not a game they're gonna win. So through 14 games, it's just not really that promising of a schedule. I'm gonna probably say 4-10. I guess 5-9 is again definitely optimistic outlook there, so I'm probably say 5-9 just to stick with that. Their last 3 games, none of them are exactly the most challenging. Again, that week 18 game, the Texans are really vying for a playoff spot. That won't be a game that will probably be really, again, fare too well in. But at the Raiders week 16, then you got the Steelers in week 17. Both those games should be somewhat competitive. But overall, this Titans schedule doesn't really give them a chance to be really competitive, even going into their bye. Alright, guys, yes, in fact, I think the Titans have the hardest division schedule in this division, just because I don't think the matchups that are on their schedule are really tailored to them to, consistently be able to knock off these wins. As I said, through the first 9 games, or first 8 games, that is, and going into their bye week, I think 2-6 is a realistic outcome, and just looking at this team trying to be competitive, that's just not something that can really, again, spur you to be that. Because, again, if you can't start well, again, it's just kind of hard for me to project there. On top of the fact that, again, even on the backstretch, there's really no group of games, like 2 or 3 games where they can kind of get some momentum going and maybe even pull off some even more bigger upsets following that. So, with that sort of dynamic playing in there, I just don't really think this is a year that the Titans are, again, at least in terms of their schedule, they're really in a good spot to, again, consistently win. Colts, they're in 3rd. They have a really hard schedule. I think overall they probably have the hardest in terms of difficulty, even though, again, this is the 5th easiest. Also mentioned the strength of schedule in here. Again, at least for the AFC South, I really don't know why that is. It's not an easy year. But for the Colts, the biggest thing here is the fact that, again, look at last year. The start they had, starting 7-1. That's just not something that's going to happen this year. I said I think they'd be fortunate to be 4-4 at best, and 3-5 is probably realistic. And like I said, I think 8-9 again. If they're able to get back to their win mark last year, I think that would probably be an expected outcome, which is not. Again, well, you started 7-1 last year, like. You'd be wanting more this year. I just don't think the schedule is really looking at that because they got some tough games on that schedule, especially the first 4 weeks. The reason the Jags are here in 2nd, again, 11th easy in terms of strength of schedule, is because their spot in terms of, like, I don't see them getting over the 10-win mark this year, especially if things really go off the rails. Again, I still think through the we're going to say, like, first half of the season, they're in a good spot to be very good. But there's a stretch there, again, as you guys saw. Really, that week, I'm going to say 13 through 16 range, where it's going to be tough for them to, again, kind of, I wouldn't say make up ground, but gain ground on maybe those top teams in the AFC. And for this team to kind of win this division, I think that's something they're going to need to do. Because if they're kind of get stagnant, a team like the Texans, could obviously creep up on them. And that's why the Texans here. The Texans those last 2 games will be very telling in terms of what they make on the playoffs. 7th easiest term strength schedule, 474% right there. Again, win percentage. But for the Texans, again, those 2 games in Philly, in Green Bay, those are brutal. I understand that. But those 2 games I'd probably say if you're a Texans fan, you're targeting going into those 2 games, those are the games that will really cement you either as a division winner or as a wild card team. Not really, again, to get in the playoffs, basically. And that's not a bad spot to be in. I think that sort of clarity with their schedule is something that a lot of other teams just simply don't have the luxury of having. Or, again, a team like, I don't know, we're going to say the Bills schedule, if they're trying to vie for a number 1 seed, there's some ambiguity in there in terms of what will actually happen. Texans, you really know where they're going to be, and that's something I think the clarity is really what plays a big role in here, on top of the fact that there's no, again, really some brutal stretch, like I said, with the Jags there. That's why I think they have the easiest schedule in this division, despite maybe not, again, still having pretty hard opponents. But hopefully they can get their first AFC championship this year. It's been 3 straight years they've lost in the divisional. That's all I have for the AFC South schedule rankings here. Yeah, get ready for the AFC West coming up pretty soon.